Hey there, Twins fans. My name is Seth Stowes of Twins Daily and twinsdaily.com, bringing you tonight what should be a lot of fun, a fun conversation on the Twins Spotlight. I did actually turn the lights on the Christmas tree on this time because every time I do one of these, people are asking about if that's my Christmas tree. So I might as well turn the lights on. I did a radio interview this afternoon in the Twin Cities, and of course, they asked me that very question. So with that, let's talk. We got another Twin Spotlight here tonight, and this one's going to be fun. I actually think I have the right date on there as well. So bear with me as I find the screen I'm looking for. I thought I had it. Apparently, I closed it. Oh, there it is. Give me 1 second. Here we go. All right. Tonight on the Twin Spotlight, we're going to be talking to the wives of 3 Minnesota Twins players that made their Major League debut in 2020. We're going to be joined on the picture here. You see Jordan Kirilloff, Lexi Jeffers, and Maci Blankenhorn. And we're going to start by bringing in Maci. So let's do that. Maci's husband, of course, is Travis Blankenhorn, who was a Twins draft pick in 2015 and has kind of worked his way up from the high school ranks all the way through the system and made his Major League debut last September with 1 game, but he got a double. So, Maci, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this. Let's start with a basic question. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at. I know you're not down in Fort Myers, but where you're at and how long you and Travis have kind of been together and how long you've been married.
All right. So I'm in Pennsylvania still. I stayed home. I recently just got a full-time job, and as we spoke before, I'm a graphic designer. So I'm just staying home doing that. We just started building our house on Monday, so a lot of exciting things happening. It's been a long journey together. We've been together since 8th grade, which is super crazy to think. So it's been like such a fun time together, like just growing up together and seeing where our life is taking us together and our careers separately, which is so fun to live through all of this with him. And I'm just so happy for him, and I'm happy that I could be a part of his journey as well.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take you out for just 1 second while we bring in our next guest, and that is, let's see, alphabetical order. We're going to bring in Lexi Jeffers, and she is the wife of Ryan Jeffers, so we should get the right screen up there, who, again, was a Twins draft pick in 2018 and worked pretty quickly up the system and made his Major League debut in 2020. So, again, same thing, Lexi. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your kind of relationship.
Yeah, so I'm Lexi Jeffers, as you said, and I am currently in Fort Myers, Florida with him, taking on this baseball journey. I was a foster care social worker, and I quit my job about 1.5 years ago now, just to kind of be full-time and travel and just kind of be all in. And so we're here in Fort Myers for spring training, and Ryan and I have been together for almost 8 years in July. It's kind of crazy to think about. We met when we were sophomores in high school. So we've been together since then, and it's just been so awesome. Like Maci said, just being a part of the journey this entire time, being able to see him thrive and grow through all the stages, high school, college, minor leagues, and now the majors. It's just so super, super neat. And I'm just happy. I'm so happy I get to be a part of this journey with him and be here.
That's fantastic. All right. We'll hear more from Lexi Jeffers in just a second, and then we'll bring in a third guest tonight, and her name is Jordan Kirilloff. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong buttons all over the place, but
Hi.
Jordan, tell us a little bit about yourself. You've been in this system for a long time too.
Yeah, for almost, I think, 6 years now. I'm down here in Fort Myers. Alex and I actually live here all year, so it's kind of nice. We don't have to move 3 times a year, which is nice. So I'm just taking care of our 1-year-old all day, running around chasing after her. We have been together since we met when I was in the 9th grade and he was in 8th grade. And then we started dating when he was a 11th grade and I was a senior. So it's been a long time. But it's been super cool. Like Lexi and me said, just like seeing him go through the whole thing. I've traveled mostly everywhere with him and seeing all the different stages and places that he's played and all the different things we've seen, and I'm just grateful to have been a part of this with him and see him like live his dream. And so it's been pretty fun.
Absolutely, though. Well, we've got a few questions. We're going to try not to take up these ladies' entire evenings, but I mean, let's be honest. We spotlight the players all the time, and I think I didn't realize it, but apparently Monday was International Women's Day, and we should have done this on Monday, but instead we're doing it on Thursday. So I like to say that the moms deserve a ton of credit. The dads seem to get all the credit, but it's the wives, the girlfriends that do all this. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And let's start out with let's start with you, Maci, on this one. 2020 was a weird year. You guys were scheduled to get married, and obviously some things changed. But just talk a little bit about how that season played out for you personally, because I imagine wedding plans during a pandemic get a little bit hectic.
Yeah, it for sure was a crazy year, and I feel like the craziness is just continuing on. It's getting a little bit better, though. It was weird, you know. Also, like, I used to go see him a lot or try to plan times to go visit and watch the games and things like that. I tried to keep up with as much as I could, but obviously there wasn't as many live games I could watch and stuff. So it was definitely weird, but I'm grateful for what came of 2020 for Travis. It was really awesome to see that play out the way it did, because it seemed like, you know, with the wedding being canceled and all this stuff, that it was going to be the worst year ever, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, a lot of strange, or maybe some good things came out of this. Lexi, how about you? I know that Ryan's birthday is in the summer, and it's unusual for you to get to spend that time with him in North Carolina. It's probably been a while, and it may be a while again.
Yeah, it was awesome, actually. I mean, obviously it was a bummer we weren't playing baseball, but it was the very first time in our entire, I guess, almost 8 years together that we actually had a summer together without baseball. So that was super neat, and we just kind of dove in and spent lots of time at home and hung out with our puppy, and just really enjoyed that time together. Took it super easy. We were pretty quarantined anyways. So yeah, it was nice. It was nice to be able to actually enjoy our beach town and go to the beach and just kind of spend his birthday together. Again, we just did a simple dinner at home, nothing crazy, but it was nice. It was nice in that part of the year to not have baseball. It was very, very odd and very strange. And of course, the whole time we're like, when is baseball happening? Like, when are we going back? But it was the only time in our entire life that we've really together that we've had like no baseball whatsoever, because everything was shut down. So he wasn't even like an off season. He goes to the field, you know, and he still goes and hits and catches and works out, but everything was shut down. So it was neat. We watched lots of Netflix, and we definitely got tired of our apartment, after our tiny little 1-bedroom apartment after a while, but it was time that we will like forever, ever cherish for sure.
Absolutely. How about you, Jordan? You didn't have to travel. You got to stay home since you live in Fort Myers, but I imagine that just life was a little bit different. And, you know, again, she's one now, but I imagine that altered life as well throughout your 2020.
Yeah, like it ended up being such a good year, and kind of we obviously missed baseball a ton, but it was super, super nice getting Alex home with the baby. I feel like they bonded a lot more than they would have been able to, because Penelope was born February 20th. And so he got so much more extra time with her. And even at the alternate site, he came home earlier than he normally would have. So we were just really grateful for that. And also his ability to play a little bit later in the season too, and kind of get the best of both worlds.
That's kind of leading to the next topic, and I'm going to have Lexi start on this one. Ryan made his major league debut, and for all of you, you weren't able to actually be there. And to me, one of the coolest things about people making their debut is the TV channels showing the family there and all that. And I feel terrible that you all weren't able to experience that. So just kind of talk about that, Lexi. Talk about, you know, I think you were in St. Paul. Able to go to the game. Talk about how you found out, and I guess even just sharing that news with your families.
Yeah, so we were just a normal day. Ryan had got back from the alternate site. I think I was just like, it was doing laundry, watching the game on TV. And we were kind of paying attention to the game, not really. And then we saw when Garver got hurt playing and catching, and we were kind of worried about him, and just kind of we kept watching the game. And then probably about like 45 minutes later to an hour later, Ryan got a call, and that was the best. I mean, obviously in that situation, it wasn't the best news, but we were very, very happy that he was getting called up and got to have that conversation. And that was like at like 11:30 at night. And so we were at like an all-time high for sure, and just couldn't, it was just very, very exciting. It was a very, very special moment. And so at that point, he was going to be hitting the road for I think 11 days or 10 days or something like that. And so the very next day he had a home game, and then he'd be on the road for the 10, 11 days. So that night was filled with lots of emotion. We were very, very excited. Again, it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. So we called any family member that would answer. They all thought something was wrong, but we called them super excited and woke people up and gave them the good news. And of course, it was hard to sleep that night, but packed him up and got him ready. And then the next day, that was a bummer for sure. I was very, very excited for him. You dream about that moment for a really long time. That's like what we've been working for a while now. That's kind of like what our goal is, get to the majors and have a successful career. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to go to that game. And so I sent him off, and he had an awesome game, and he was super excited. And I watched from our apartment on rented furniture and just kind of sat there and watched. But, you know, he had a great game. I was super excited for him. The whole time I was getting phone calls. That way I wasn't alone. People called me, and we watched the game together via phone. And it was just, again, it was bittersweet. I was very, very happy for him. I was super excited, very proud of him. And at the same time, I was just really bummed that it wasn't, you know, I couldn't be there to see it in person. And also for him too, it's, you know, those moments where he has his first hit in the major leagues, and then, you know, no one's there to cheer him on other than his teammates. But I'm very, very grateful that he had the teammates and the mentors that he did that were able to give him the high fives and the hugs when I wasn't able to. And then he hit the road. Thankfully, I was able to see him that night, pick him up, and drive him to the airport. And then he was gone for 2 days. So I gave him a quick hug, and it was really, really special. And then because it happened like that, it didn't really feel real, which was wild. Like, it kind of felt like, wow, this is, you know, you look forward to that moment for so long, and you have these like expectations of what it looks like, and you're at the game and you're celebrating and all that kind of stuff. And so really it took probably a few weeks to maybe even more, a month, to realize like he's not just going to practice. Like, he's not just going, you know, to the field and just playing in a scrimmage. He's actually playing in the major league game. So it was really, really neat. Obviously very sad, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I truly believe everything happens for a reason, and I'm just glad that it all worked out and he got to play.
Awesome. I'm going to go in chronological order for this one. So, Maci, I'm going to go back to you quick, and then we'll go to Jordan. For Travis, he had gone on the trip as a whatever they called that, the group in case there was injuries, and he was kind of, you know, maybe not. So when he got that call, I know he said it was just before a game. How quickly did you find out, and were you in charge of making other phone calls?
Yeah, honestly, he sent me a text, I think, because like you said, it was like right before game. So it was super quick, and like he sent it, and I was like shocked, kind of like, wait, what do you mean? What's going on? I just couldn't believe it. And of course, he got to talk to his parents and his brother and stuff. So obviously, in this small town we have that loves Travis, it spread fast. I was having people text me, call me left and right. So the small town did it for us. I didn't have to tell too many people, but everyone was excited tuning in. I was obviously here at home, so my family and I, we had like a projector we set up in our backyard, so we got to have a nice little campfire and watch the game to make it a little bit more relaxing, because I was very like anxious and nervous for Travis, just from the other side, like not being able to be there, and like also he was also on the road trip, so I was just so bummed. But it just was so amazing for it to happen for him, and we're like both just so grateful for what happened in the year 2020. It's just super cool to see. And I was happy, even though I wasn't with him, I was happy I got to sit there at a campfire and watch it. I still wore my Twins shirt and enjoyed it.
I love this enthusiasm because as a guy who barely played at a Division III school, the thought of being in the major leagues is amazing. So, Jordan, for you, it was a little different. I know you went up to St. Paul for a little while and went to the alternate site, but then you were back home when he got that late night call, as Lexi talked about, the late night call that
Yeah.
he added to the playoff roster. So a little different. I mean, he became the first player to make his major league debut and start in the playoffs.
Yeah.
How did you hear the news? I imagine that was a pretty exciting moment. And how about telling your parents and his?
Yeah, so he called me, and I had actually had a clinical the next day. I went home from St. Paul because I was finishing my last semester of nursing school. I had to skip one because of Penelope, and so he called me, and he was like, I'm playing, and I was like, what? I honestly couldn't even believe it. I was so happy for him, and then after I was like, wait, like I wish I could be there. I was at so many like minor league games over the past 6 years. I mean, I've lost count, and so I just never thought that, he would make his debut in this kind of a year, but I was super happy for him. He was so excited. He had called his parents and told them, and I told my parents, and I actually, the next day, he texted me because he wasn't sure if he would play or not. And he texted me and said, I'm starting. And I actually watched his debut like in a bathroom in a Naples hospital because I had a clinical instructor that was very strict on phones. So I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I kept checking my phone. People were sending me videos. So it just was definitely didn't look like I had been pictured, but I mean, I was so happy, and hopefully this year I'll be able to see some games at some point.
I'm so turning that into an article at some point down the road.
I never thought, and I only had a clinical one day a week, and I was like, of course I can't even watch it with Penelope. So my mom had her watching, so it turned out
Right.
good. He was so excited, so I was just happy for him that it finally had happened, and it was in the playoffs, which was super cool.
Absolutely. All right, real quick, for those watching on Twins Daily, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, please feel free to interact. Send us questions, send us comments, just say hi. We're joined by Twins wives, Jordan Kirilloff, Lexi Jeffers, and Maci Blankenhorn tonight. This has been a lot of fun already. And we're going to let Jordan start with the third question here, which is in season, and then maybe outside of season, but let's start with in season. How much do you and Alex talk baseball away from the ballpark, or are you able, and is he able to, kind of just leave everything where it was at the ballpark?
We really don't talk a lot about baseball. We kind of we'll talk about, Alex will come home and he'll tell me about his day, or like something funny that happened at the field, or we'll talk a little bit, but most of the time when he comes home from the field, he likes to, play Xbox or talk about something else, or talk about what I did that day, just kind of get his mind off of it and stuff. He's not big about talking about it a lot. So, and I'm not really a super big sports fan, so we just kind of move to the next topic.
Let me just kind of ask a follow-up. Has any of that changed since welcoming Penelope into your lives? I imagine he comes home and that's, suddenly a bigger priority, or a number one priority kind of level.
Yeah, that definitely has. I mean, she just kind of brightens his day, when he comes home and everything. She's so fun, and he just gets so excited to come home and see her. So usually I'm telling him about stuff she did that day, or if she's doing new things every day. So I'm always excited to tell him what she did that day, or she's at the point where she's showing him things and he's talking to her. And I feel like it just I don't know, brightens his evening.
Absolutely. Maci, I want to kind of ask you the same question, and kind of leading into that. I mean, were you an athlete in high school too, or were you just supportive? And then do you guys talk baseball out, after games and things like that?
I played soccer, throughout. I played other sports throughout high school, but that's the only one that really stuck. I played in college for a year, so I like sports, but I can't say I'm always the number one fan and know every single thing about stuff. But I feel like when he sends me a text and he's done a game or something between my work schedule and stuff, because I usually try to tune in while I'm at work. I can have the radio playing at least. It's usually just brief conversations. It's never really a lot unless he feels like he wants to talk about it a lot that day. Then I go along with it. If he doesn't bring it up, I don't bring it up. We just let it be, let it roll. It's like, if I have a bad day at work or anything, I'm going to call him and vent, and he's going to listen. And the same goes for him. It just depends on the day you have. And I try to learn a lot more. I'm getting there. I think he might be a little impressed. I'm getting a little bit better. I am not the best, but baseball is starting to make more sense to me.
Perfect. Thank you. Lexi, same question for you. Do you, have that baseball conversation or do you leave it at the ballpark?
I would say we talk about baseball pretty often. I think sometimes more interested than he is when he comes. I'm like, what did you do today? Like, it's always my first question. Like, it's different every day. It's like, what'd you do? Who'd you catch? What was your routine like? And so we talk about it pretty often. And then there's always, it's always on TV. So it's kind of funny. I mean, we definitely separate from baseball during off season and kind of just, that's our separation time. But during season, we watch it, we listen to it, we keep up with it. He sometimes talks to me like I know what's going on. He'll say like, this person from this team did this or this. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I try to keep up. And Twitter is very helpful with that for sure. It keeps you updated on the teams and all the players and stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in like what he does during the day. But it's funny because I definitely have gotten better with baseball and knowing things and knowing players and other teams. But I truthfully didn't even know about baseball or watch baseball. I wasn't even a fan of it until I met him or saw him at a game our sophomore year of high school. So I didn't even know what I was going to that baseball game. And then I went, and ever since then, I've just kind of learned the game and learned to love it. And it's probably on downstairs right now. He's probably watching it.
Probably. Well, again, I welcome comments and Jonathan just says hi. So hi, Jonathan, how are you? But I do have another question. Now, I want to preface this question by mentioning Maci, Travis has been in the organization since 2015. Jordan, Alex has been in the organization since 2016. And Lexi, Ryan joined the organization in the second half of 2018. So the paths haven't necessarily been the same for the players. But here's a question from Eric. And I jumped in a few minutes late, so maybe I missed it. But have the three of you known and interacted a lot as your husbands have gone through the minor leagues? And I want to start with Maci on that because, again, you've been in the system the longest. What is the relationship? I mean, if you want to say between the three of you, that's fine. But, I mean, the girlfriends and wives, I mean, that has to be kind of a fun relationship for you guys to all develop.
Yeah, it definitely has been. And it was funny to see a message of the three of us because I was like, oh, I know them all and I'm comfortable talking to them all. So that's super exciting. Like, I met Jordan, I think, in Elizabethton, Tennessee, like right when she was getting engaged to Alex. So that was exciting. I was there to visit Travis. So definitely like one of the first people I met. And like, I feel like we've been along this journey a long way. And we spent when I spent the season down there in Fort Myers, like she was there too. So that was exciting. Lexi, I met at spring training, I believe it was. I think we actually have a picture at her spring training or something, but it was Ryan's first year, I believe. Lexi, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that was super exciting too because we connected instantly. And like along this way, like both of them have been people I feel like I love to text and like talk to throughout the season, and we all just get each other. And it's brought a lot of great relationships in my life, like even girlfriends or wives that I've met and like are no longer with the Twins. They're not playing baseball. Like I still keep in contact with them, and it's just like a whole nother social life. It's fun. I love to meet everyone.
That's a good way of putting that. Jordan, since you've been there the second longest, we'll go to you next. But there definitely is a connection.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like Maci said, like she was one of the first people that I met. I mean, and it's crazy. It was so long ago. We've known each other for so long. Lexi, we've been like hanging out at a lot of the games and stuff. So it's cool, like the relationships that you create in baseball, and like the girls that I have relationships with girls that aren't on the team anymore, or like girls that are on other teams. And it's just like this community of women that kind of understand such a not weird, but like interesting way of living. So you just like connect on that level together. And I feel like that brings so many girls close and are supportive of each other because their husbands are all doing the same thing. So it's been cool.
That has to be such a huge part of it. It's just that support system beyond your families, but yeah, through a group that are going through that common goal, common struggle, all of that. Lexi, how cool. I'm obviously with this group, you and Ryan came in a little bit later, but I mean, obviously you just kind of get to know new people, and that seems to be a good thing.
You just jump right in. Honestly, even this spring training, there's a bunch of new wives and new faces and players, and you just jump right in. You get to know them so well, and you see them at games. And with Jordan and Maci, I've pretty sure definitely spring training, but also Twins Fest was a great way for us all to connect. That was a really, really unique place and experience for us. And then pretty much, I think we've been there. I've had 2 Twins Fest, and then unfortunately didn't have last year, or I guess this year. That was super neat. And then, like I said, it's more like Maci said, it's just we share the same things. So, we go through the same things, we experience the same things, and we can all relate to each other. And so kind of like Maci's in a position now where distance is still a factor. And just this past year, I was able to come with him and take that distance part out of this baseball journey. And I know how hard that is. And I think about her often, and I check in and we text, and Instagram, social media has made it so easy to stay involved with each other. But yeah, it gives us a way to relate to each other, and you meet a lot of people and you become really close to them. And then unfortunately, a lot of them, like this past year, 2 of my really good friends, they went to different teams. But they said, you still keep in contact with them and you still remain friends, even if you only saw them for 1 season. It's a bond that you share that is like no other. And I'm so grateful for it. I really am.
That's fantastic. Again, I've got just a couple more questions because, again, like I said, I don't want to take up their whole nights. We're already close to a half an hour, and I'll ask any questions that do come through on the comments. So we'll appreciate that. Jordan, I'm going to start with you on this one, and it's kind of a broad question. And the general question is, what is the best part of this life in baseball, so to speak? I know that's a broad question, but what are some of the things that you have definitely enjoyed about this?
I'm going to bring it back to the question before. I think a lot of it is like the relationships that you make with people that you otherwise wouldn't have met. We have a lot of friends now from across the country that even if they're still not with the team, we still keep in touch. Secondly, I think watching Alex be able to do what he really wants to do and live his dream is just, I think, the best part for me. And then the relationships that you have, I think, is really cool. And also, I think we've seen a lot of places that we may have not otherwise seen, which I think is really cool. Like some of the minor league places ended up being really awesome places to be, like Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We loved going there, and Pensacola, Florida, and just seeing different places and traveling has been a lot of fun and experience that together. So.
For sure. Maci, what would you add to that? I mean, obviously, I know that it's a big part of it. I'm sure that's part of your answer. Would you add anything more to that?
Pretty much like Jordan covered it all. I think it's just super cool that all these different times, and yeah, I have just only spent 1 season there with him, but I can think back to things that happened in Elizabethton or shock have even been brought into my life and have been so memorable for us, because it always seems like if you're only seeing them for a week at a time, you cherish those memories so much, and baseball has just brought so many cool things to our lives that I like all of it. I like getting to know people, seeing different stadiums is so cool, and I love how the minor leagues always have the funky names and stuff. It's just so neat to get the different t-shirts and keep that as a memory. It's so cool.
Absolutely. Lexi, you've kind of done a little bit different. Obviously, both Alex and Travis signed out of high school. You went to high school to college to pro ball. Any different perspective from that angle?
Not really, other than like you said, the journey was a lot quicker, which I'm definitely grateful for. I did think I did miss out on going to AAA. I never actually got to go to Pensacola. So I was able to go to Elizabethton and Cedar Rapids, and that was it. So traveling wise and kind of being experienced different teams, those are the only two that I was able to go to. But I would have to touch on what Jordan said too. I think just the best part about this whole journey is just watching Ryan live out his dream. I think it's the coolest thing ever. You know, it's something we've been wanting for so long. And he truly is so happy and just loves it. The other day I was like, you know, now they wake up super early not super early, but they wake up early for spring training. And I'm always like, you know, I'm barely getting out of bed. And he's ready to go at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I told him, I was like, you this whole time have never complained about going to the field. I've never once heard him complain. And as these ladies know and the guys know, it's a grind. It's a lot of work. It's not easy. They don't just go out there and play and, you know, frolic around the field and have a lovely day. They put in a lot of work and effort into it. And so I think that's truly the best part for sure, is watching them live out the dream and also, you know, meeting the wives and building those relationships, and then also being able to travel along with them and experience things that we normally wouldn't be able to experience.
Yeah, the best thing about working from home so far the last year is that I have to punch in by 8 o'clock and I roll out of bed at about 7:56. So at 7 o'clock in the morning just sounds terrible.
I know. We have one car here, so some mornings I sleep in, and sometimes I take him to the field, which, like I said, it's totally worth it. But like I said, he's ready to go at 7 o'clock, and I'm like, give me a minute. I gotta wake up a little bit.
So, Lexi, let's start with you on this one. Then the other side of that is it's not all glamorous. It's not all ritzy. You know, there are bus trips and, you know, I think other things. What are some of the tough things that maybe, you know, a lot of people don't realize about life in baseball and particularly the minor league journey?
Yeah, the minor league journey is tough. I think the whole baseball journey in general is nothing is guaranteed, which is really hard. And you have to be very, very flexible. So you don't have set schedules. You know, again, nothing's guaranteed. So you don't know how long you're going to be on a team with the team, what's going to happen, what levels you're going to go to, how long you're going to be in the minors. The minor leagues itself is a grind. It's not, you know, they don't pay you a ton, and living arrangements aren't the greatest. And so also distance for wives too. For us in the minor leagues, we have to stay most of the time. Like I have to stay back and work and finish school to be able to support us. That way he gets to playing baseball. And then I would say the hardest thing though in minors and major, thinking about the whole baseball journey together, is the transitions. So in just adjusting to the crazy baseball life they all call it. So, you know, you have 2 months of spring training, and then before you know it, you're going to Minnesota for season, and you're there for 7 months, and then you go home to off season for 3 months, and that time just flies by so quickly, and before you know it, you're turning around and prepping for another season. And so that's hard for sure with housing arrangements. Those are always a pain. And then also just kind of like, you know, right now I finally feel like I've just gotten my bearings here in Florida, and we just got settled, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta start packing. Like, we leave in a few weeks. And then also, you know, planning housing arrangements, all that kind of stuff, and then also taking care of stuff back home. We live in Wilmington, North Carolina in the off season, and so not being home and not being with family, being apart from family and friends for that long is tough for sure, and not having that support. But I always say it's all worth it. It's all worth it.
Absolutely. I want to jump to you, Jordan, too, because again, your journey, I mean, has been the longest, since 2016, but you also had a missed year where I'm imagining your ability to be a support person probably was challenged at times and things like that.
Yeah.
But, so from your perspective, I mean, what have some of the challenges been through this process?
I think I'm gonna go to like what Lexi said about like just like the uncertainty, you know. Most people when they get a job or they relocate, they know where they're going to be, like how long they're going to be. And in baseball, you can have, you know, kind of an idea, but it's never for sure, you know. And then like things like Alex had Tommy John surgery too. And that was challenging. Injuries can be challenging. You hope that they don't happen, but being a support system through that, it was hard seeing him go through that, but he came through it better and stronger, which we were really, really grateful for. So I would just say, like, the uncertainty going from so many different places. It's always challenging when you go to a new place. You don't know what the good areas are to live in, you know, if you even will be there the whole season. A lot of seasons we've spent half somewhere else. And then when they tell you you are switching, like, you don't get a lot of time to tell. And it just explaining that to a lot of people is challenging. A lot of people it's a interesting concept. So it's just very fluid and you have to be very, very flexible. But we've been grateful enough to live here. So at least we only move twice a year, which is nice. But there still is a lot of time too, where like I don't see him for a week and I miss him. And that can get challenging if there's long road trips or things like that I don't go on. So just things like that. But it's definitely, like Lexi said, it's definitely worth it. And you definitely would have it that way. So
absolutely. Maci, a little different perspective because you have been a part. I know you talked about appreciating those weeks when you were watching Travis, but I imagine the season gets a little bit long when the time boyfriend's away for 6 months or whatever it is. So, I mean, I imagine that's number one, but what other challenges have you had since this 2015 timeframe?
Yeah, I do think the main part of the struggle is just like the constant changes and like obviously being away from each other. Like there's so many times that I just come home at the end of the day and I'm like, oh, I just wish Travis was here. And it's just simple little conversations that you miss. And it's like, you know, you're going through things like we're building a house together right now and I'm like sending him pictures. I'm like, oh, I just wish he could be right here. So like all of that stuff is a big struggle. And it's not like nothing we can handle because the benefits of him actually living his dream is just absolutely amazing. And I know it's what makes him happy. I think it's just it's hard to find the balance. And, you know, we're kind of figuring out, I think. I mean, this season, it's only how far in and I'm just dying to be there. And I'm like, call him every day. And I'm like, I am coming next year. I can't take this. But, you know, like you got to just go with the flow. And I made the choice to stay home and work just because I spent how many years at college and I love what I do. So we're both doing what we love. And it's hard. It's really hard too for people on the outside to understand that. Like so many people this year are like, oh, you're married and you're not together. Like you're not living together. And it's like odd because like everyone who's in the baseball life and understands it would never like turn their nose up at those kind of things. But you have some people and friends that are just like, oh, that's weird that you're not going to be together, but you're married. So, you know, you just kind of have to tough skin and figure things out. Not everyone's situation is going to be the same.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. Now I've just got a few questions that have kind of trickled in through the comments. So I'll kind of just open this up. If anyone wants to, I don't know, raise your hand or just go. But because this is kind of a random question from Eric again. What baseball phrase did your husband say that totally confused you? Because there is some baseball jargon that I imagine you just got to kind of learn.
I have one, but it's a while ago. But I remember when we were it was a college, I think. I saw my first pickle. I don't like it's so weird, but you know, when the catcher's running, the other person's running, they're going back and forth. And I heard actually he didn't say this, but someone in the stand said like, "Oh, look, they're in a pickle," and I just see my husband out there looking crazy, running back and forth. And I was like, "What is a pickle?" And so that was the first time I heard that. And now every time I just like giggle every time I hear it because it's funny. But that was the biggest one that I learned was the pickle, and it's still funny to watch. It's always fun to watch and see how they do it and pass the ball around. I'm always afraid they're gonna drop the ball and someone's gonna run by. So I think that would be the pickle.
All right, Maci, Jordan, either of you have one that might be a good example?
I think there's too many. I didn't know that the list might be too long. I see still says things, and I'm like, do I bother and ask, or do I just let him keep talking?
That's fair. Let's start. I mean, Maci, you kind of answered this one already, but John asks, do you go on road trips often? Ever meet or interact with opposing teams' wives or girlfriends? Maci, your thoughts first on that one, and then we'll get to the other two.
Yeah, I mean, since I go on, like, I only go see him for weeks at a time. Like, if I know no one's going to be in town and stuff. Like, it's kind of like you sit down and you're like, I think that might be another wife or girlfriend. It's like a weird thing. And like, I've been at stadiums and games where like I've approached people and I'm like, oh, maybe like their boyfriend's on the team or their husband's on the same team as Travis. And I've actually made some friends through that I just only met because we were both at a game together. And then I was like, oh, I didn't realize he was on the other team. Like, it's just funny because you can definitely tell, and you just like when you're there alone, like I don't know, I feel like I just go up to people and I'm like, I can't sit here alone, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, for sure. Jordan, how about you? You mentioned that there's a lot of 10-game road trips, especially in the Southern League and AA. Have you made many trips on the road?
I have made a few. I don't go on every road trip because it just gets to be too much traveling for me. But usually if there's like a really long road trip, I'll try to break it up and go. And I definitely have talked to other wives on other teams and stuff. I have a friend here actually that lives in Fort Myers here. Her husband is on the Red Sox. So we've been friends for a couple of years now. And so that's interesting when we hang out to talk about the difference between the teams and like what each of them are going through. I don't know what this year will look like. I'm hoping we'll be able to travel, but we'll see. I'm not sure what that will look like going forward. I hope so, though.
Definitely. 2020 was definitely different, and we hope it's better in 2021. How about you, Lexi? Any thoughts on the road trip question?
Yeah, I was actually really looking forward to, I guess this last year and this year, being able to travel with Ryan, and obviously things didn't go as planned last year. And this year, like I said, like Jordan said, they kind of are, what we're hearing is that we're not able to travel. And so I was really hoping to travel this year, and I hope we get to be able to, maybe towards the end of the year. But I definitely will try to go on a few road trips because like Jordan said, the 10, 11, 12 days, those are a really long time, especially when you're, with them throughout the other times in the games and they leave for 10 days. Like, what do I even do with myself? Like, I'm here for baseball. So it's really just watch it on TV, and we have a little puppy, or he's 1.5 now. So traveling with a dog is pretty difficult. So I won't go to too many games, but I'll find a dog sitter for sure this year if we're able to go and just kind of sneak away, because I would love, while I'm not, having tons of kids attached to me, all that kind of stuff in our future, being able to travel with ease and really experience road trips and what those are like, because I've heard they're really, really fun.
Maybe the puppy is good practice, but I'm guessing over the years, Jordan will be able to tell you that probably needs a small bag, Alex probably needs a small bag, and you need 38 million things for the 1 or 2-year-old.
Yeah.
I know. I wish it was easier to travel with dogs, but it's not. So maybe it'll be a little easier with a baby. I can just strap him to me, pack the bag. I don't know. Put it, have the stroller. Jordan will help me out with that for sure. But the dog is hard to travel with, but we're very, very, very lucky to have him and glad he's here.
Jordan, we'll just let her think that for now, right?
I told her as long as the babies go to bed a little later than most kids do, it makes everything a lot easier.
Yeah. Here's one from Jim Page who asks, do you ever get impatient waiting for your husband as he signs autographs? I don't even remember who I've asked lately. So Maci, do you want to take that one? Do you ever wait and wait and wait?
Not really. I think it's actually like, I don't know. I think it's so cute when like little kids come up to him and stuff and are like asking for his autograph. Like I even like sit there and I like take little pictures of him doing it because I'm just like, this is such a sweet moment for him and like all part of the experience. And he's really nice about it. He doesn't keep me waiting for a long time, so I can't complain. Like I enjoy it for him, and I think it's like I said, all part of the experience. It's super cool to see.
Jordan, how about you? And I'm asking you because Jim also says thanks to both Travis and Alex for tossing our son a ball in the minors. I know in Cedar Rapids, and Ryan did go to Cedar Rapids briefly, but on Sundays they always had autographs after the game. So, what is your experience with that, Jordan? I imagine you've seen several autograph hounds.
I love watching him sign autographs. And most of the time it doesn't take very long. It usually takes a couple minutes, and I enjoy seeing him, sign kids' balls and like make their day and stuff. So I think that's super, super cool that he's in a position to be able to, make someone's day by signing their ball or their card, which I think is pretty cool.
Absolutely. How about you, Lexi? I imagine you see a little bit of that in college just because there's always some kids there, but I imagine, and again, you weren't there last year to know what it's like there, but I mean, through the minor league journey, you probably experienced that a few times too.
Yeah, they both hit it right on the nail. I mean, it's just so awesome to be able to even be able to do that, to be able to like make people happy by signing autographs. And Ryan loves it and enjoys it, and I think it's so neat. I'm the same way. I kind of sneak some pictures if there's like cute little kids having them sign balls or cards. It's actually really neat. I mean, I guess I don't really ever get impatient. I think it's really cool. And again, it's part of the process that we just know that's what comes with the baseball life. And I also look at it like this, like my husband has so much support and I love that. I love that other people root for him and that they're a part of this journey with us. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. And it's super neat when we are in Twins Fest because I think, Maci, you and I both were with them signing one time, and we were able to kind of stand in the corner, and like they were all lined up at this table. And there's this massive line coming in to get things signed. And what was so cool about that was it wasn't just a ball or a card. People had like printed off photos I've never seen in my life before of Ryan from like high school or college or something, and had it like framed, which was so cool. And so they'd have them sign stuff like that. And so it was really neat to come and, watch, see what people put together to have signed, binders full of cards. And it's just a really, really neat thing. And I love that he gets to do that as part of his job. And yeah, I didn't really see a lot of signing, probably maybe once. I think in Cedar Rapids, I did see a few times when he would sign. But again, it was just super neat and he enjoyed it. And I haven't seen him, I guess, with COVID so far. They're not allowed to see fans or sign anything or interact with anything. So I'll be really, really excited when COVID goes away and that's able to happen again, have autographs and have that one-on-one fan interaction. We love running into people in public and seeing them. And it's actually funny. We don't get recognized very often. I guess now maybe we'll get started to recognize more. But we walked into a Verizon store during the off season. It was so random, and someone was wearing a Twins hat, and we sparked up conversation, and it went like 30, 45 minutes. It was just the sweetest couple, and it was just so neat to meet people that way. And they had a ball in the car, and Ryan signed it, and so it's just really neat. And I love that it's a part of our journey for sure.
It's fantastic. Just to talk about myself, because I'm selfish like that. At Twins Fest a few years ago, I brought my daughter, who would have been 10 or 11 at the time. And, normally I go there as media, but the one day I brought her, I was like, nope, I'm going as the dad, and we're going to let her walk through the lines. And I would stand behind and take pictures. But in one of the lines, she saw someone holding a copy of one of my prospect handbooks from a couple of years ago. And she just said, hey, that's my dad's book. And do you want them? I mean, she went up to them and was like, do you want him to sign it? He wrote that. I mean, to see her get that excited, do you want me to hold your stuff while you do that? I'm like,
oh,
she still likes me, so that's a good thing.
Oh, that's so fun. I know all the kids are so cute, and it's just like they're in awe. And I'm like, this is just my husband. I go home with him. He's not cool, But people just look at him and they think it's so awesome. And it is really, really neat to see young kids enjoy that and experience it. And then the people who collect cards for so long, it's really, really awesome.
And I've told this story before too, but I also brought her to the Diamond Awards that year. And, I talked to Brian Dozier ahead of time, and he was her favorite player for sure. So I introduced them, and they talked for a while and took some pictures. And afterwards, she came up to me and put her head on my chest, and I thought she was just tired after a long night. I looked down, and she's got tears rolling down her eyes, and I said, "Are you okay? Or are you just tired?" She said, "Today is the greatest day of my life." So, that just speaks to the impact that these have on kids' lives, and I love seeing that. I've shared that story before. People that have watched this probably have heard that 3 or 4 times. But it is pretty impactful when you get the opportunity. Last question for all 3 of you, and I'm not one of those people that even follow what uniform numbers people wear. Eric asks, any insight on Alex and Ryan's changed numbers? Any special meeting? Well, I think Alex has been 19 forever, right?
Yeah. His dad actually has a baseball business, and it's called Baseball 19.
Okay.
And that so he wore that. So Alex wears that as well. I think it was his dad's mom's birthday. So that's just like a really special number to him. So he was like so over the moon to get 19 this year. He wanted to be 19. It's really like a really special number to him. So he was very excited.
That's fantastic. How about Ryan? I guess I didn't even know he was changing numbers.
Yeah. Well, he has been 27, kind of like Alex, the same for quite some time. So all throughout college, and it was just a special number to us. It's one of those things. If he was able to have it, he wants to start it, early in the journey and have it as long as he possibly could. And so I don't know. It just he's always been 27, and he asked this past off season, and they're like, "Sure, go ahead, you can have it." So it was a lot easier than we thought it would be to get it up games. I know some people have to fight for their numbers and do all that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's really, really special, and I'm glad that his first full year, hopefully this year, he can wear 27, and that be his number for a really long time.
All right, we got 19, we got 27. Eric has to ask, is there anything special about number 74? And if you could choose another number, Maci, do you know what number Travis would choose?
I don't know. I'm thinking, well, with how long that last name is, any number that's a single digit would be good for the back of that rainbow name jersey. There's no meaning behind 74. I guess that's just what he was handed. And I mean, I haven't heard him say he's dying for any other number, but I'm sure he has some numbers in his mind, and maybe one day it'll happen. Maybe he'll say 74.
The other side, Maci, I'm just very concerned how you're doing as far as your last name just changed from a 4-letter name to Blankenhorn. How are you doing on your checks so far in the last 6 months?
Oh my gosh. And then you said alphabetical, and I was like, oh, Ruth. And I was like, oh my goodness. Now I went from the end of the alphabet to the beginning. This is the first time that got played in here. But it's been, his last name is longer than my full name, so I'm getting used to it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you all very much. I know I kept you longer than I thought, but it's been so much fun to hear your stories and listen to the exchange and like I said, get a unique and different perspective. So thank you all for doing this. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
This has been really fun. Thank you for having us.
Of course. And thank you to everyone for listening. Again, you can download this on Facebook, on Twins Daily, Twitter, YouTube. It will have it on the Twins Daily podcast, which you can get anywhere you download podcasts very shortly after we're done here. Real quick, I am going to have a quick Twin Spotlight tomorrow at noon Central Time with Thomas Nicholas. I interviewed him a year ago. He's the star of Rookie of the Year, and he's part of the American Pie series of movies, and he just came out with a new movie this week. So we're going to talk to him a little bit and catch up with what he's up to and talk a little bit of baseball in there too. So with that, thanks again to Jordan, Lexi, and Maci. I really appreciate it, and you guys have a great night. And of course, we always have to end with
Go Twins.
Go Twins.